Okay, so we are going over uh, Backgammon Strategic Concepts by Francois Tardieu. And we've been going through the very long first chapter, which is openings. Um, and trying to incorporate kind of all the stuff that we talked about with Michi's opening concepts book, Mochi's strategic generalizations, and a few other Michi's back checker strategy, those sorts of things, and trying to figure out these problems. They're very interesting and difficult problems, and a lot of things with the proverbs and general ideas that we get. A lot of them, there may be several that apply, and it's sort of difficult to sort out. These, I think, help sort out a little bit. So here's one. We got 4-1 to play. What's the right play?
I'd make the 4-point.
Make the 4-point.
Yeah. That seems like the obvious play.
And then I wouldn't slot though with the 1. That looks too dangerous.
Lot.
I mean, split.
Split. Yeah. Okay, so good. That's the obvious play. That's what I would have done.
6 to 5 looks right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're right to the answer, and it's wrong. So let's see, 8, 4, 6 to 5, 11, 7. Yeah. And this is unusual. I think Marty Storer commented on this one too. I think it's clear not to split for a number of reasons that we know. One, if you remember the splitting rules that we looked at before, black has not split. That's a sign not to split. Black has 11 checkers, in the zone. That's a good reason not to split. The only thing would make us want to split is the fact that we're well blocked. So we've got some conflicting things there. Why do you think this is right, though?
Because the 6s are so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3s that hit are good on the other side also.
If you took any one of those checkers, say on the 6-point, his side, and moved it back to the midpoint, then I think that would change things completely.
See. Yeah, that's interesting. And now here it's right display. I guess these don't matter.
Oh wow!
Well, here you
there's one less
you
in the
gain
zone.
7 pips also.
So making the bar
Right.
point is still right,
No.
or still better than making the 4-point.
Still better than
trying
making
to build.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's surprising on a number of levels. I mean, the 4-point is generally better than the bar point. And so we would tend to make that first. And then, of course, just leaving a blot, not only do you make the typically weaker point, but you leave a blot on the stronger point. So that doesn't make sense. And the answer that and it was the same thing. The reason is what Kit said is because 6s are bad here. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is you're under a lot of pressure here, but there are a lot of roles that don't work out so well for black here. Well, and here's where it was. Any 6 would be 1, because he's got to either break his midpoint or come deep.
Right.
So he doesn't want to do that. One thing I think Marty pointed this out. Here's an alternative. Oops, I left the answering. I didn't mean to leave the answering. And so here, now we're looking at, I guess it's the double shot on the ace point that makes this. here's the more typical play. 6 to 5.
Well, yeah, you're not going to leave him a double shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go back to your original position.
Mhm. Okay.
Can you go back to the original? Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's the original.
And could you hover, do the analysis, but look at the cubeless equities for both plays. I can't see them. What are they?
0.292 for the bar point
Yeah.
and 0.266 for the 4 point and 6 to 5.
Okay. I was wondering if there was some massive cube considerations floating around, but apparently not.
But yeah, sixes are bad now, and many threes were already good. If Black rolled 3-1, would he hit or would he make the 5 point?
Yes.
I think you'd have to hit here, right? If we made the bar point, because you really can't.
Yeah.
Particularly if we went 6-5. Well, I guess we wouldn't have if we made the bar point. We wouldn't have done that, but you really can't let us make the 5 prime.
Yeah, good point.
So I think you'd have to hit. So anyway, I like reading the summaries that Tardieu gives because they're often unhelpful. He says it's easy to overlook the best play when you're in the heat of the action and playing on autopilot. Well, that's true anyway. But then looking at all your options is key, allowing you to properly analyze all the information in your possession. So I would classify that explanation as unhelpful. But he did point out that the sixes are bad, and that's really what causes this. And as with the alternative example, splitting this, you don't leave a double shot, regardless of the 6 and that sort of thing. Okay, so that's a odd one. Let's go out into some other ones which are a little bit easier. So here we're kind of in the same situation in that, well, Black's has the same configuration. 11 checkers sitting on the 6, 7, and 8 point, 2 at the mid, 2 in the back. But what are we what are we looking at here? So whenever you're coming in on the bar, you have the opportunity to split. Now we said before that we don't necessarily want to split because of Black hasn't split and all this well-distributed spares, 11 in the zone. Pretty strong attacking position, and the fact that we don't have anything. A pretty strong attacking position for Black, so normally you wouldn't want to split into that.
But you wouldn't want to put 3 on the 24 point either. That's
exactly. Yeah, 3.
No, the two is pretty easy.
Yeah, 3 checkers on the ace point, I think, is just almost universally wrong if you have a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Not maybe. I'm sure there are exceptions, but
I don't think we're in that much urgency to come up. So I think 6 to 5 is. I mean, the 6 to 5 is the thematic play.
Yeah.
And I think it's right.
Yeah, and it is. It's 6 to 5. Maybe by process of elimination, it's well, and it's usually right. If Black hasn't split, and you've got a spare 1, that's actually one of Mochi's proverbs is, with an ace, slot your 5 point, and so that's the best shot. You're already well behind in the race. If you could hit again, that's not that terrible, and hitting again will prevent Black from making an inner board point. Most likely, unless he gets double 2s or something, double 4s maybe, in which case you're in more trouble anyway. So yeah, it's coming in split. Don't stack the ace point. I think 24, bar 24, 6-4. Well, that's a blunder. That's a kind of a silly play anyway. Or 13-11 is not good either. So Tardieu summarize this one is the dominant factor when considered a slot is the possibility of securing a key point when behind in the race. All right, well, that's not helpful either. That's just, slot the 5 point if you have a good chance and you're not subject to a double shot. And for that point, black has no board at the moment. We'll have a board shortly, I'm sure, but at the moment he doesn't, so
Mhm.
arm the slot. And then of course, don't stack the ace point with 3 if you can avoid it. All right.
So with the correct play, is it a double for black?
Oh, no.
No?
Oh,
It's like, there's like almost no market losers.
yeah, I mean, whatever you got, black still doesn't have a board.
I mean, he's got some joker, super jokers, double twos, say, but the usual, average plus, average minus isn't going to lose his market by much, if at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, certainly black is favored here, but it's not overwhelming. It's 60-40.
Yeah.
There are lots of gammons, but not a foregone conclusion by any stretch. Okay. 122.
Mm.
Yeah, so this is a tough one too. So we've got to come in on the 2. And the question is, where do we play the 4?
You have to come up. I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think if black makes the 5, you're just losing anyway, so might as well. You know,
Yeah. So
least-
so I mean,
At
you
least a
can't-
lot of his pointing numbers break a point.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's here's one option. And when we talk about splitting, we're well, if we stay back, we're well blocked, and black has an advanced anchor. So those are from the Michi world, I mean, that's a sign that you need to split and come up. Even though you are got sort of a minor split, you're still blocked. So that would be a rationale for coming up. This doesn't.
Plus, all
make
the
a
other
lot of sense.
plays hurt your position to boot.
Yep.
What'd you say, Kip?
I said all the other plays hurt your position
Right.
considerably, just
Yeah.
to make it easier.
Yeah, there's no reason to do this. And then this doesn't move. And then either one. Oops.
But even if they didn't hurt your position, it's very thematic to move up. And when the other guy's got an advanced anchor, you got to
Yeah.
get one also, or escape one checker, or you're going to be on the wrong end of a priming battle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, here it's almost always wrong to play past your opponent's anchor unless you also have that anchor, which we don't have. So I think I may have messed that up. There's one of the okay, yeah. So the right answer here is to come up and slot the 5 point and hope for the best. And as Kip pointed out, okay, a 5-1 is a great roll for black, and that's probably game over from that. But 3-1, 2-1, something like that forces black to leave a block, which you may be able to hit. And so, it's not that bad.
And 5-1 was probably game over anyway,
Uh,
if we stayed back.
yeah, true. 5-1 is the full 5 prime, and you're gonna lose anyway.
So does black have a double after white plays correctly?
Good question. Well, 37%,
I don't think so. I
probably not.
mean, here you can see market losers, but they're not. And, you know, white structure is pretty good. I've seen worse doubles, but I don't think it's quite there.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at like the Pratt method, um, you know, black has a 4 point, but white has the 5 point. So actually, white has technically the better board. The race is pretty much even. What black does have is some real threats.
He's on roll. That's his only advantage.
Well, on roll, but yeah, but he could, you know, the 5-1 is one market losers. Double three or making the 5 point followed by a dance. So, you know, and there are a handful of those, but you know, that's
But the point is, even those aren't huge mark. Well, 5-1 dance would be, but I mean, you know, some of the other, you know, moderately good numbers, and white comes in and doesn't hit, you know, maybe it's a market loss, but not by much.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, certainly black has the advantage here, but not quite enough to double yet. Okay. Let's read what Mr. Drew said in this. He said, coming under fire from 4 builders may be necessary when your opponent already has an advanced anchor, especially when your opponent's outfield points are already stripped. Yeah, so that's kind of what we said.
Mhm.
And what Michi said, if your opponent has an advanced anchor, you really need to get one as well. And so you've got to take the risk of sticking it out there. And yes, and then black is stripped. So if he has to use one of these points to make the 5 point, you got some return shots. All right. Swing to.
Hmm.
Yes, this is a tricky one too. I mean, I would say almost an automatic play.
Really?
Well, generally, if you have a blot here, you're gonna do that to cover it. And then the question is which 3?
Mhm.
So it's either
It's funny.
split.
I look at this entirely differently. I know I'm going to split. The only question is where.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's all, well, to me, if you have a blot in the outfield and you can cover it, generally that's the first thing you can do, barring something else. So that's one thing to do. But if you do this, you're walking into 11 checkers.
Yeah.
All of which these and 4, so you got 16 pointy numbers more or less. So that's, you know, that's not a pleasant thought.
Nope.
So maybe you come here. Which strips your 8 point, and so your whole outer board is stripped, midpoint, and so on. So that's not so great.
I think you have to make some split.
Yeah.
I mean, just so he doesn't get to use all his good numbers.
Yeah. Well, I did this one wrong. This one is here. We can put it back to the original. Yeah.
Oh, actually, come to think of it, 13 to 10 isn't so. I guess the case could be made for just trying to build.
But doesn't 8 to 5 help give you another
No,
checker?
you want your bar point more.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yeah, so the answer here, and this one I would never have gotten, but the answer is
Did we think about the minor split?
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean, that's certainly possible.
But then where's your 3?
Well, that's the question. It might be right to shove them both up. I don't know. I have no idea.
So, the right play actually here is something, well, let's show the answer, Chris, because no one has mentioned it. It's the tempo.
Tempo play.
Yeah. Which is the only
Mhm.
thing that I've featured is generally when you've got a blot, when your opponent is slotted the 9 point,
Yeah,
that's generally when you're going to look to that. If you've got a 5, usually you have a 5-1 or something like that.
Now,
And you-
notice that all this on the splitting plays going to the 22 point is way better than going to the 21 point.
yeah.
That's an important thing to notice.
So, well, yeah. So, yeah, the two, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's because you've only got 9 pointing numbers or 9 spares pointing at this number rather than, I'm sorry, you only have 3 spares pointing rather than 4. So you've got 9 pointing numbers rather than 16.
And it's a point he wants less.
right.
Yes, yeah,
That's a big consideration.
also. But yeah, here's the case where black has so many options,
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
rolls that are going to do something productive, like making the 5, the 4, even the bar, or even the 3 for that matter. I don't actually probably wouldn't make the 3. A 5-3, he'd make the 5 point, but yeah. So the only way to counter that is with a tempo hit.
Hmm.
I would not have seen this. So the explanation for this one is as a last resort, and if no constructive alternative is available, hitting the ace point can cause your opponent to lose precious time in their strategic development. So which is tempo hit.
And once again, look how bad his 6s are. Is entering 5s and 6s. In other words, if he had a third checker on the midpoint, the tempo hit wouldn't be as strong because then he could play his numbers.
Let's see if that happens. Yeah. So that's a good point. With that third checker and 3 on the 8, now it's kind of a toss up between the split.
See, just think 2-6 from the bar and you got it.
Yeah. Good point. But the tempo is still,
Oh yeah.
contender there. And
with one more checker on the 6 point, I would have done that. I didn't think it was worth it to start stripping the 6 point that quickly.
Yeah.
But you're right, Gary. The 9 point is usually a red flag, and now he has the 9 and the 10.
Yeah.
So you're really got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, that's a sign to at least think about the tempo hit. Obviously, if you have a constructive play, otherwise, you don't. But here we don't really have a constructive play. And here I'm thinking, typically you make the bar at this point, but again, we're 6 pips away from the last point that we've already made, so that makes this point a little bit less useful. In fact, I don't think. Well, this isn't a bad play in this situation, but okay, let's just go on to the next one. All right, so I like this one. Off the bat, I can see 3 good plays.
Yeah.
3 to think of.
Those are easy.
Yeah. And so, so the question is, which one?
Oh boy.
Wow.
I'd say
guess
make the
it's-
5 point.
Yeah, I think 5 is best, and then 21 is second, and then hit is third is my prediction.
I think I'd make the 21 first.
Yeah.
I can't really
I'm
support
not
that
sure.
gut feeling.
Yes, so yeah, obviously, any of these things accomplish something pretty useful, making an anchor is certainly good. He's got, although he's only got 9 in the zone, so I think if you had 10 or 11, it would be clear to do that. But still, making the anchor, particularly when black's made the 5-point, is you have to consider that. Hitting is always good, puts him back, you'll go up in the race. And from the tempo, you're lessened your likelihood of being attacked here. Although if he still rolls a 4 or 2 coming in, you're going to get hit. And then of course making the 5-point, which is unstacking the 6 and making the 4 prime good 4 prime. The 5-point equalizes the board. You always have to consider making the 5-point of it. And the old rule, well, the David Presser rule is if you're not going to make the 5-point, you better do two other things that are good. And so making the anchor, that seems like one good thing. Hitting sends your opponent back, and that's a good thing. You're up in the race. I don't know if those count as 2 good things, but certainly making the 5-point is a good thing. So,
Well, if you hit, he has no good 6s.
that's true. Another point, yeah. So the answer is making the 5-point, followed by making the anchor, and then hitting. So yeah, this is not. I guess the best rule is the only reason I can say is the one where if you're not going to make the 5-point, you got to do at least 2 other things, and each one of these does one good thing. It's a very good thing, but it's hard not to make the 5-point when you can. Okay, last one for today. Or 1 to play. So the first thing I would look at this, and we should know this, is the splitting rules here, because we've seen this. Actually, all these had splitting almost all of our things today. So what type of formation is this? And this goes back to the Mochi strategic visualization.
No, don't attack the stack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's basically what Mochi said. But he called this the blitzing formation. You got 2 stacked points. Don't step up so that he can attack you. Also it's 10 in the zone. In terms of splitting, black isn't split. He's got no advanced anchor. You're not blocked. You got 10 in the zone. All those say don't split. So that should be a good sign not to split. So and so that's the first thing that I would look at here. So this has got to be the 4. No other 4 makes sense. And the question is, well, what's the 1?
No, 6 to 5 looks trivial to me.
Yeah. So it's either that, and that's pretty passive, or it's 6 to 5.
6 to 5.
This is so much better if you're not hit, and if you are hit, it's far from the end of the world.
Yeah, and again, if you are hit here, then black hasn't made anything productive up front. So it's sort of this. It's less of a tempo play. It's more distraction.
Don't tell me I'm wrong on this one, because this one I actually feel confident about.
I know you got this one right, Ken.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's another. Whoops. Another case. Sort of a common theme here is the importance of getting the structure right. Developing the stronger structure even even when you give up certain, even when
Right.
you put yourself in certain risks by doing so. So I mean, obviously, this is the safer play, but this gets you a whole lot more.
Mhm. It just looks so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, let's see, his explanation, I forgot the explanation last time, but his explanation is if both inner boards are similar in strength, you can react to your own opponent's sliding a point by doing so yourself. When you're on the bar, being able to hit a slotted enemy point with a 6 is always a good thing. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Because we're not in the bar. Anyway,
Gary, these positions are very interesting, of course, but do they have any general theme which might help
well,
us to?
the one that I just said, which is, often we're looking at playing for a long-term positional advantage, and throwing out a fair number of risks to obtain that. So here, we're giving them the shot to get so that we can make that 5 point. Before we talked about, the first one was, we're also giving them a shot that we, in this one, a shot that we don't have to give him. But in order to make the stronger, the prime in this case, and to, give him bad sixes. And then in this one, let's see. Yeah, again, we're taking a risk to slot the 5 point. That's a lot for, we're taking the risk for the longer term structural advantage of having made that point. So that's, I think, the key there. And it's the tricky part is, when is that the right thing to do, and when is that just something that's reckless to do? And generally, we've looked at situations today where black doesn't have a board. And then in all these cases, black is back on its ace point. And so I think if generally black had a board in these situations, or black had split, generally you're not going to want to slot the 5 point if black has split his back checkers. Too many shots. It's 20 plus shots versus 11. Well, I guess it's more than 11, but 20 plus versus 11 plus. So that's the kind of thing. I mean, this is these are difficult problems because they run into probably somewhat unique situations where your general rules of thumb, they're either there are a lot of them that contradict each other, or it's not clear which is the most important one. You've got two options of using two rules of thumbs, and which one is better, just like the last one. I think it was the last one, or the second last one, where you've got three solid plays that do three different things, and the question is, which is the better one to do here, and it's not at all obvious what that is. There are reasons for doing any of them, so you just I guess this is so you sort of get the sense of this is this type of situation, this is how you do. I don't know. I suspected that minor changes might change the answer. So I don't know what happens if we do this. Now white is more under fire there.
Mhm.
And okay, so
Yeah.
that changes the answer.
Yeah.
Hard to analyze all the different pieces that might get involved here to do that.
What would happen if black was on its 4 point? Its back checker was on its 4 point. Would
Yeah.
better to hit?
Well, I think that in this case, the 5 point is not as valuable in terms of the prime. So yeah, better to come up.
Oh, I thought it'd be
Well,
better.
yeah, and hitting here, hitting gives black a return shot. With a-
Hitting's just plain weak.
Um,
And they got a good six.
yeah, and you, yes, and you've given black a very good six to hit back. So.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? And we'll call it a night for that.
And that was the good positions.
Yeah, this book has a lot of very good positions. And it's I think the main
Which
main
book
strength
is
of
this,
book.
Gary?
Yeah,
Which book is this?
this is Francois Tardieu, Backgammon
Oh.
Strategic Concepts.
Okay.
Do you know who that is? Francois Tardieu?
Yeah.
You know him, okay. Because I'd never heard of him until I got this book, but it's a pretty good book. Okay.